the red button. It's not there. Did the thing disappear?
I pressed the button, now it's red. Right there.
Okay, and the time's up. Okay, that's it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillah. Walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'du. Before we get started, bidnillahi ta'ala, inshallah, we're going to make this class very concise and short, due to the fact that, I've been up since 11 o'clock yesterday, and I would like to get some sleep.
This is gonna be real concerned.
No, no, we're gonna cover all the elements and things like that, but I know that like the last class we were talking about a little bit about my biography and seeking knowledge and things like that, and I do want to touch on that a little bit too as well, but we have to get through these subjects first. So, as usual, we're gonna go over the Arabic, right? We have first. Let's look at the letters that we covered last week, right? These 5 letters are what we covered last week, and they are the lam, the ra, the noon, the ta, and the dhan. So, quickly, how do we say these? I'm just going to go in order, inshallah ta'ala.
Can you repeat it again?
So we have the lam, the ra, the noon, the tha, and the dhan. Those are the 5. So, Mahmoud, how do you say the lam with a dhamma over it? Lu. Maybe it has to be a short sound, short vowel sound. Yes, so it's lu. Abdullah, a ra with a dhamma over it. Ru. Okay. Ulysses, a noon with a dhamma over it.
No.
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 No. Right. And this is, of course, at the beginning of like Nuh, right? Nuh alayhi salam would have this at the beginning of his name, a nun with a dhamma over it. Okay. How do we say a tha, Qais? How do we say a tha with a dhamma over it? Thu, yeah. And who got back there? You. How do we say a dhal with a dhamma over it? What? Yeah, that's right, dhu. So we have dhu, thu, nu, ru, and lu. Okay, so now let's go to the 5 new letters that we're going to be covering today. So, you. Yes, you. What letter is this? It's a sin. How do you say a sin with a dhamma over it? Su. Okay. What's the word for letter? I mean, we want to try to acclimate ourselves to some of the Arabic language. Instead of saying everything in English, to try to learn some of these things in Arabic. For example, if every time I'm saying letter, we need to know what the word in Arabic is for letter. So instead of me saying the word letter, I can use that word, and that's something that we can now add to our vocabulary. So what is the Arabic word for letter? Harf. That's right. So from now on, I'm going to say harf. And let me write it down. Let me write it here so you guys, for those people who they read better than they hear, which is like me. So it's going to be, okay, it's already in Arabic. So it's ha with a fatha, right? Ra with a sukoon, and fa, and then I guess we could put the tanween on there. So harf or harfun. Okay. So so this harf right here is seen, and we say a seen with a dhamma over it, su. Okay. You. Over there. What harf is this? Huh? Yes, it's the calf. How do you say the calf? With a dhamma over it. Cool. You want to change the chair right here. All right, so this harf is calf. You can, and a calf with a dhamma over it is ku. So we have su, ku. All right, now what harf is this? Mukhtar?
That's a ya.
That's a ya. So this harf is ya. How do we say the harf ya with a dhamma over it?
You.
You. Yes. And what harf is this? Ibrahim, you just got here, so I'm going to give you next time maybe. Are you ready? It's a hamza, right. That's right, it's a hamza right there. So how do we say a hamza with a dhamma over it? Okay, Mahmoud, you want to give it a try? Ooh. Yes, so right now we have su, ku, you, ooh. And remember that the hamza, the sound comes from the throat, so ooh, 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 ooh. Right, so ooh, you, ku, su. And the next harf, Abdullah, what harf is that? It's a ba. How do we say a ba with a dhamma over it? Bu. That's correct. So we have bu, u, yu, ku, su. And that is it for the Arabic part of the class. Any questions on that?
You said for the letter was harfun.
A harf means a letter. Or harfun, yes. You can say harf or harfun, it's the same thing.
What's the English spelling?
H-A-R-F, I guess. Okay, so now we're going to go on to tafsir. Bidnillahi jalla jalaluh. Okay, so we covered last class, we covered the companions that are known for their tafsir. And there are 3 of them. Who are they? Who are the companions known for tafsir? Go ahead, Ulysses. Name one, just one.
Oh, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud.
Yes, Abdullah. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Okay, so we have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Who else? Yes, but no, we said that even though they are people that have been with the Prophet ﷺ, and they are people that know tafsir, a lot of their tafsir did not reach us. So we're talking about those people who are known, famous for their tafsir. Right, so we got Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is one. Who else we got? Abdullah ibn Abbas. And one more? Ali. Ali ibn Abi Talib, yes. Okay, so now we're going to cover the next part of the class, which, if you can guess, is going to be about specifically their students. The students of the companions who are famous for tafsir. So when we talk about the students of the companion who are famous for tafsir, they're going to be divided into 3 schools, right? So there were a lot of students of the companions who were famous for explaining the Quran. They can be divided into 3 groups. The first group are the Meccan students. And these students are those who studied with Ibn Abbas. Okay, so those are the Meccan students. The second group of students are the Median students, those who studied in Medina, and they studied with Ubay ibn Ka'b. Okay? And the third are the Kufa students. And the Kufa students are those who studied with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So we have Mecca, Medina, and Kufa. Mecca, Medina, Kufa. And we have in Mecca, we have Ibn Abbas. In Medina, we have Ubay ibn Ka'b. And in Kufa, we have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Any questions on this? Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, so let's move on then. So now we're going to talk about the students of Abdullah ibn Abbas. So that's the Meccan students, right? We're going to mention two of them right here. Actually, whoa, no, that's wrong. Qatada is wrong. He's not from his student. It's Mujahid, and we have also Ikrama. Yeah, Ikrama, yes. No, Ikrama is he's Medina. He's Medina. Man, wish I had it's Abu Umama, oh man, I can't remember his name. Hold up. No, not that. Lahba. Okay, so Ibn Abi Ata Ibn Abi Rabah. Let me change that real quick. Exit. Okay, there we go. Save. Okay. So from the Meccan students, we have Mujahid and Ata ibn Abi Rabah. As far as Mujahid, he said about himself, I recited the Quran from beginning to end 3 times to Ibn Abbas, stopping him at each verse, asking him its meaning. 3 times from beginning to end, he asked Ibn Abbas the meaning of the verses from the Quran. So that's Mujahid. So you'll hear his, and Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i uses him a lot. When he talks about his understanding of the Quran, he'll refer to Mujahid a lot. Okay. Now, for Ata ibn Abi Rabah, we don't have any quotes for him, but he's also a person you'll get explanations of the Quran from. And he's also someone who studied with Ibn Abbas, radiyallahu anhu. Okay. As far as the Median students, those students that studied in Medina with Ubay ibn Ka'b, we have Zayd ibn Aslam, and we have Abu al-Aliyah. Abu al-Aliyah. So Abu Aliyah and Zayd ibn Aslam, those are the students of Ubay ibn Ka'b. And you'll notice something too, that some of these students, they're known outside of tafsir. Some of them are not. They're just restricted to tafsir. Okay, so let's now look at the third group of students, and that's the students of Ibn Mas'ud, the Kufa students. And from them we have an Alqama, and we have Qatada. Qatada ibn Di'ama as-Sudusi, and Qatada, he's famous for outside of tafsir as well. He died 164, if my memory serves me right, or 164 or 167 after the Hijrah, right? Very famous in the field of hadith. So that's why I know him from that. Okay, so these are the three groups of students, and these are some of the names. Now, these are just examples. This is not restricting tafsir to only these 6 names, right? These are just examples. Okay. So, Ikrimah would actually be with the Meccan students. So Mujahid and Ikrimah, they both studied with Ibn Abbas, right? So we have Mujahid, and we have Ikrimah, and we have Abu Rabah, and that's the Meccan student. And then for Medina, we have Abu Aslam, and Zayd ibn Aslam, my bad, Zayd ibn Aslam, and Abu Aliyah. And then for the Kufa students, we have Al-Qama, Qatada, we have Sha'bi. Sha'bi is also, his name is not here, but he's also known amongst the scholars of Hadith. He died in the year 181 after the Hijrah. And he's also known for Hajj too as well. Sha'bi is known for Hajj. He's known for Hadith in general. And no, Hajj meaning that he's known to, that's his specialty, issues that have to do with Hajj. Like, the people used to ask him. Well, Kufa right now, wouldn't that be in Iraq? Yeah, Kufa is in Iraq. And, Imam Ahmed is from Kufa. Imam Ahmed is from Kufa and things like that, so. Yeah, back in those days, Ahlul Sunnah was very strong. You know that Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, his, I guess you could say, the capital of his Khilafah was in Kufa, was in Iraq, so. Okay, so that is that, inshallah ta'ala. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? Okay. So now then we're going to go on to Kifayatul Ghulam. And the last thing we covered in Kifayatul Ghulam, we were talking about one of the conditions that have to be met in order to fast Ramadan, and we were talking about witnessing or observing the sighting of the moon, the new moon. And what was the name for the new moon that we used in this poem? Who remembers? Who knows what the name of the ambulance is called in Arabic? Not like, like for example, not the ambulance, I guess you could call it. Like, how in America or in the West they have the Red Cross? The opposite of that is what?
Crescent.
The crescent moon, right? But you guys don't know what it's called in Arabic? Hilal. There you go. That's what. See, there you go, guys. That's it. That's how we get things done. Okay. So the Hilal is the new moon. All right. That's what was used in this in this poem. Okay. So we said that when it comes to sighting the new moon, and you have on a cloudy day, it is okay to accept the sighting of any one individual, whether it is male, female, slave, it doesn't matter, right? And that's where we left off at. In fact, this was the line right there. So now we're going to be dealing with this line. Okay, so let's look at this line real quick. We're going to read it. We're going to try to dissect it and its meaning and the words and so forth. There's a lot of good words here. That's good to know. It says, وَالْفِطْرُ بِالْعِلَّةِ فِيهِ يُشْتَرَطْ عدلان مع لفظ شهادة فقط. Now, if you're looking at this and you're struggling to read this because, excuse me, not all of the words they have the haraka or the vowel accents on them. There's a reason why I didn't put it on each letter. Let me see, who is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Who can observe the, there's a not a method here, but there's a type of pattern. Thank you. So there's a pattern here. Who is able to tell me the pattern? Why is it that some of the letters I didn't put any vowel marks to it? No, but I like how you're thinking. That's not it. It's actually easier than that.
It was because, like in the word Afghan,
Pronunciation.
some things is like a given, because we know that that's a long vowel sound.
That's true. That's one of the reasons. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at, for example, like he was looking at this word, Adlan. It is a given that certain letters, depending on how they're formed or what letter is with which letters are paired together, that only one type of vowel sound can be there. For example, if you have a letter, then you have an alif after it. The only thing it can be is a fatha. If you have a letter and then you have an alif after it, the only thing it can be is a fatha. Nothing else. So this is, you know right away that this is land, right? You might not know what this is. You might not know if this is a dhamma, fatha, kasra, but at least you know right here, land. You know that much. Because that's an alif. Nothing else can come after alif except a fatha. So, and right here too, right? We forgot this one, shahada. So shahada, we have the ha and we have the alif. We know that the ha then has a fatha because nothing can come after the alif except a fatha. Okay, so that's one reason. But if you notice that some of them else, there are other letters that are also missing vowel sounds. So what was that reason? So you've only covered the reason for two incidents. But what about the rest of them?
Pronunciation.
It has to do with pronunciation, but what about it?
Well, like for instance, the beginning of the first word,
Uh-huh.
I would say wal
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't pronounce the noun.
Okay, all right. So you're talking about like here, you know that, because of alif and lam and stuff like that, you know there's a sukoon right there. Yeah, anytime you see alif and lam at the beginning of a word, you know that there's a sukoon there. Knowing your sun letters and your moon letters, that also plays a factor as well. Okay, that explains a little bit more. See, so you see how you're noticing how all of these different little rules that we learn is going to help us in our reading. So you've discovered two things, but it's still something else. Why is it that some of these harfs, right? We're learning the word for letters. Some of these harfs or huruf, which is the plural of harf, right? Some of these huruf, they don't have any vowel sound attached to them. Why? Why did I leave it without vowel sound? And there's a reason. I didn't do this, haphazardly. I did this on purpose.
So we could learn the words itself. On sight.
Sight has something to do with it. But no, there's a way that you can tell what vowel sound goes with it. And she got one. But there's another. Okay. Like how you said about the alif, right? Comes after this fatha. What about here?
I was going to say even fihi.
We're at fihi, right? The ya.
That's a letter of, that's one of the letters of med. The aleph,
Yeah.
and the
A
wow.
kasra with a ya is med, and an alif with a fatha with an alif is also med. Yes.
And then the wow as well.
And the waw as well. Well, we don't have any waw here, but yes, that would be too. The waw with the dhamma will also be med. Okay?
Even with the shahada, the dal does not have a
Huh? Yeah. Oh, that's another one. Okay. Here's another. That's another good principle. Whenever we have ta'al marbuta, what comes before it? What comes before ta'al marbuta? Fatha. Always. There'll never be a kasra before ta'al marbuta. Never. So you know that the letter before ta'al marbuta gets a fatha. Have you heard of Fatimi? Is there such a thing? Fatimi. You know somebody named Fatimi? It's Fatima. Why? Because at the end of her name, ta'al marbuta. Aishi or Aisha, Haqiba. All of these words have ta'al marbuta at the end, and that's where you get the sound from. So the fatha before the ta'al marbuta. Okay? So that's what. So that's like there you discovered like four rules already. Come on, guys. Give me one. There's one important thing. Okay, I'll give it to you. Because the asl, or you can say that, the default, the default of any letter is fatha. The default of any letter is fatha. If you don't know what something is, what vowel sound goes on a letter, most likely it's fatha. Most likely. So let's look here. Now this is kasra. This one right here is kasra. This is kasra. Right? But this ayn, fatha. Adlan. This meme, fatha. Ma. Right? And this, the fa and the qaf, fatha. Faqat. Most of the time, the default is fatha. Most of the time. So you have like about, if you take that into consideration when you pronounce a word, you have about an 80% chance or more of getting the word, of pronouncing the word correctly. Keeping in mind those other rules though, that were mentioned. If you keep in mind those other rules that were mentioned, plus the chance that if you don't know, or if the word is excluded from all those other rules, let's say, most likely it's probably a fatha, you'll probably, 80% of the chance, you probably get it right in your pronunciation. Okay. Going back now. Okay, so, wal fitru, the word fitr, right, is a noun meaning not fasting. In this reference, that's what it means. All right? So if you're not fasting, that's fitr. The opposite of it is som or siyam. So siyam is fasting. The opposite of fasting is fitr. Okay, al-illa, right? We know it's a noun. Okay, it says bil-illa. So the ba is a preposition plus noun, which means with abstraction. But what does the word illa means? Linguistically, defect, right? Who said that was you? Yeah. Okay, yes. Illa means defect, linguistically. But remember that words have terminology, depending on how they're used, which scholars or group of scholars are using a word, it will have a different meaning. Like for example, the word illa, when you're talking about the science of hadith, has a different meaning than it does here. I mean, it kind of technically means defect, but it means a defect that you find in the hadith. Right? You said this hadith has an illa. Right? There are books called ilal at-Tirmidhi, for example. Tirmidhi, he has a book called al-ilal, which is the plural of illa, which is where he talks about the defects of certain hadith and stuff like that. And what we mean by, a defect of a hadith is not just the hadith is weak. A defect is something that somebody who is not experienced, if they look at the hadith, they say, this hadith is authentic. You have to be a person that's able to go deeper than that. And that's what a illah is. A illah is just not just any easy to find, wrong that is in a hadith, but something that takes a person that has good knowledge of the science and also specifically the rijal, the men that make up the chain of narrators. Okay. Fihi is a preposition plus direct object pronoun, meaning in it. So this is referring to not fasting because of sighting the new moon. Okay? Then we have yushtarat. Okay, so we have al-fitru bil-illati fihi yushtarat. Adlani. Now we're talking about how do we stop fasting, right? First we talk about how we start fasting, which, one person has to sight the moon, right? If it's cloudy. Now we're going to talk about how we stop fasting if it's cloudy. So it says here, وَالْفِطْرُ بِالْعِلَّةِ فِيهِ يُشْتَرَطْ. Okay, yushtarat, meaning, wait, hold on, that's wrong. Yushtarat means conditions, right? So there are conditions that have to be here. It says defect, but that's wrong. I'm going to have to change that. Most likely I'll forget if I don't do it now, but we're going to continue going. Okay, so yushtarat meaning condition. So what's the condition that has to be met in order for us to break our fast, right? Adlani. Remember when you see on a noun, alif and noon, I would say 70% of the time it's giving you a nominal information, meaning we're talking about numbers, specifically two, right? So ithnan adlan. You need two people that are adl. What does adl mean? Just, right? So adlani ma. So they have to be just ma with, right? And let's go on to the next. Okay, ma means with. Love the shahada. Love meaning utterance. Anything that you say is a love, right? So love the shahadatin. So these people who sight the moon, they have to be trustworthy and they have to give you or say that they saw the moon in a way that shows like it's a testimony. So now, basically, it's more serious for a person to say they saw the new moon, right? Than when they say they saw the new moon for Ramadan. So the new moon coming out of Ramadan, the issue is more serious. It's now a testimony. As opposed to the new moon going into Ramadan, it is not considered a testimony and does not require two people to do it. And that is where we're going to stop. Any questions on that? So far, okay, so let's try to recap everything that we're trying to talk about and make sure we have understanding of. So we're talking about cloudy, right? Cloudy days, someone seeing the moon. Both lines, the line last week and this line is talking about that scenario. A cloudy day, sighting the moon. The first line, the line from last week was talking about sighting the moon for fasting. This line is talking about sighting the moon for breaking your fast, ending the fast for Ramadan. So the condition for sighting the moon for fasting is one person. So one person can see the moon when it's cloudy and we fast. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, right? But for breaking your fast, you need you need two people. And this is where the scholars differ is in this scenario. Can a woman count in this scenario? Meaning that even if you have two, can you use like two women and then one man in this scenario or not? Difference of opinion amongst the scholars. We're not there yet, so we're not going to go into that. But we will cover that in detail bi'idhnillahi ta'ala if Allah gives us life in the future. And that's where we're stopping. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to continue now with my biography before we have a little bit of time. How much time we have until the Salat? Right, Salat's at 8, right?
8:06.
Okay, yeah. So we have some time. And I left off talking about going to Philadelphia to sign up for the school, getting my interview and things like that. And it was a group of us that went at that time.
Go to what school?
The University of Medina. Yeah, I mean, when this all happened, I didn't even know what the University of Medina was. To be honest, I was really just tagging along. Really just wanted to enjoy the Muslims in that area, and because I heard that the Islam is strong in Philadelphia, and the people are practicing and all this other stuff that I heard. So I was like, oh, that would be an interesting experience for me. And they said that there was going to be scholars there and all that stuff, and paid board. We stayed in Temple University dorm, so it was good. So we stayed there for about, I think it was 4 or 5 days. Sheikh Saleh Suhaimi was there. Sheikh Abdullah Atiq, which alhamdulillah I still contact him and communicate with him now. And in fact, he was the one that actually gave me my interview. And the interview was very crazy because we had just started here in Cleveland. We had just started learning a little bit of Arabic with Ibrahim Zidane, Sheikh Ibrahim Zidane that was at Uqba, and I was getting my Hadha Baytun down and my little writing and stuff like that. So when it came to the interview, and I remember one of the questions was, can you write the word masjid in Arabic? So I'm like, yes, I can do that. Boom, 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 bust it out, wrote the word masjid. Then he says, can you write the word masjid, Sunnah Nabawiyya? I was like, no. Then I'm thinking to myself, oh man, that's it, I'm done. I'm not getting accepted. And the person, there was a person translating, because I didn't know what the sheikh was saying. The person, in fact, I still remember, he's an ex-student. He never graduated, but a brother named, people know him as Shaq, but I think his name was Shaqil or something like that, yeah. So he was the one that was translating for the interview and stuff. And I remember one of the big things for the brothers at that time, because I was married at the time when I got the interview, and it's known that Medina does not take married brothers. I mean, that's just, if you tell them that you're married, they'll just move on to somebody else. And that was a huge thing that we were debating about, because we went all the way there for the interview. So some brothers like, man, I'm just going to tell them I'm not married, man. Everything like that. Yeah, there's some brothers that would say that. And I was like, I thought about it. And at that time I called, I told my wife, I called her and stuff like that, my ex-wife now. But, huh? No. I didn't get divorced because of that, no. But I thought, I thought about that. Really, I was like, maybe a temporary divorce and stuff like that. I mean, I was just trying anything to make it happen and stuff. So I was like, no, no, that can't work. So I was like, I was like, if they ask me, I'm just gonna tell them I'm married and stuff. That's all, I was like, when you do something like that, especially when you're talking about seeking knowledge and you're trying to do it for Allah's sake and just trying to learn your religion, you want to make sure you start off on the right foot. And that wasn't something that I was willing to, make that be the reason why I'm seeking knowledge, because I lied to the sheikh and stuff like that in my interview. So well, alhamdulillah, they never asked. But the other brothers, they got asked that question, and they got caught up. So, alhamdulillah. I don't know what their answers were, and I'm not going to tell you who was there. I know you already know who it was, so be quiet. They didn't even go. They didn't get accepted. So anyway, so I mean, after the interview and stuff, I still had the hamasa, the drive to wanting to learn about my deen. And in fact, actually, the idea of getting accepted just was out the window. I wasn't even thinking about that. But I was thinking about how can I further my knowledge. So I went, or I decided to go to Egypt. I went to Egypt, and this was my first experience in a Muslim setting, amongst the Muslims and stuff like that. And the people who've been to other Muslim countries, if they go to Egypt, like if that's like their third trip or something like that, they might say that Egypt is not good and stuff like that. But this is my first place I went to, and I enjoyed it. But I mean, I guess it's like, how can I enjoy it if I never really like associated with the people? Because I made sure that I stuck to why I was there. I was there to learn Arabic, so mostly I was going from home to the markaz, to the institute that I was learning. I was not really messing with the people like that. I wasn't going. In fact, I didn't even go to the pyramid. A lot of brothers that went to the pyramid, I didn't have time for none of that. I was trying to learn Arabic, and from what I've experienced of Egypt, just being able to pray in the masjid and things like that, even though I got swindled and got my money stolen, and not like stolen like robbery, but like being overpriced for things and stuff like that. The money that I went there with, that I thought was gonna last me a year, was finished in like 3 months, for different reasons and stuff like that. But through Allah's grace, I was able to stay even though I didn't have any money. My father, he helped me out, sending $20 here and there and things like that. I was able to, in fact, with the money he sent me, I remember that I bought one of my first books, which was Jami' Ulum al-Hikam, which is the best explanation of the 40 hadith. And it was in one volume with really small writing, Egyptian print. And I wore that thing out. I brought that thing with me to Saudi Arabia when I had gotten accepted. Had my notes in there. As one of the books I learned how to that helped me learn Arabic even more. So it was like a combination of learning Arabic plus studying and learning more about Islam. So Egypt for me was a growing pain experience. I spoke to you guys first about, memorization. My memorization developed in Egypt. When I first went to Egypt, it took me a week to learn a hadith. Took me a week to learn those. I was still working on Juz Amma, so it took me like a week to learn certain surahs and things like that. I remember when we would go to Jumu'ah, I could never finish Surah Al-Kahf. Like, I get like one page in, something like that. The next thing you know, it's time for the khutbah and things like that. But as time progressed, and being consistent. And I remember, subhanAllah, I remember there was times that it all felt too much. Like, I felt like I wasn't cut out for seeking knowledge. My mom will call me on the weekends and ask me what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm studying. And she's like, you gotta have time to, make your brain rest and all that. So I was like, I can't, because I'm barely getting the information right now. I mean, I was getting A's at the beginning, like the first 4 levels, the easy stuff, where it's just basically it's like the place I was going to for Arabic had 12 levels. Uh, I was getting A's all the way up to level 4. Level 5, a lot of people they drop out because that's when you get into the grammar and stuff. You see brothers there that actually went to learn Arabic. I met a couple of them that went to learn Arabic, and they just stopped going to the school after level 4 because they know they can't complete level 5, and they just end up just roaming the streets of Egypt and things like that. Same thing they could have done in Philly. I don't know why they're there, but you know, my mother kept telling me that I needed to rest, I needed to make the information settle and things like that. But I was so worried about not being able to keep up that I was studying 8 hours a day and stuff like that. Study before the marcas, before going to the institute, after going to the institute, after each salat, what I'm saying, and things like that. And my grades kept on going lower and lower. So the 5th level, I think it was when I got my first B. And then the 6th level, B minus. Then the 7th level, it was like I think I got a C. And I actually stopped at the 7th level because that's when I found out I got accepted to the University of Medina. And I left the Marcus with what's called a Jayyid Jiddan, which I think is like a B or something like that, a B grade for all 7 levels. And I left Egypt thinking I didn't really learn a lot. I felt it was very hard to grasp, and I was like, maybe I'm doing this wrong or something like that. But when I came back, I found out I got accepted to Medina, and I had to come back to work on my paperwork and stuff like that. That time of rest, where I wasn't, actively studying new words and things like that, was a blessing, because I found out then that all that stuff that I was trying to know started coming back.
Your mother's correct.
Yeah, she was correct. But what I'm saying, when you're in it, and that fear is part of you. It's hard to see that stuff. Say you think you got to keep moving. So brothers was I was teaching brothers Arabic on the side and things like that for the 3 months that I was there before I finished my paperwork to get accepted. I remember I had to turn my paperwork in, so I had to take the Greyhound all the way to Washington to turn my paperwork in so I could get my visa. And I had to be there at a certain day because they said that the plane is leaving such and such a time. You have to make sure you get all your paperwork in and be in Saudi Arabia at a certain time. I think I reached Washington like 5 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. So the place doesn't open until like 9 o'clock. And I don't know anyone in Washington. So I was just standing in front of the building for 5 hours with nothing to do. But I didn't mind it because I was like, this is gonna be it. I just gotta be patient. This is part of the journey, so to speak. And there's brothers that have been through worse than that. Anyway, when it comes to trying to seek knowledge. But alhamdulillah, once they opened up, I got in there. I even remember the girl that helped me out. Her name was Fatima. And she took my information. It was really quick, like in 30 minutes. Stamped my passport, had the visa in there, and I went back home. Took the next Greyhound back to Cleveland, and then scheduled my ticket, and I was out. Now the issue is though, when you get there, especially when you're from Cleveland, the first person that I know of in Cleveland to go to the University of Medina, you had nobody that was there to really give you any type of insight of what to expect. I think I went with like $50 in my pocket. You about to call the adhan? Oh, I think I went with like $50 in my pocket, and I thought that was gonna be enough. When I got off the airport in Jeddah, I lost all my paperwork trying to get my connecting flight from Jeddah to Medina. Lost my paperwork. I had everything in a folder. I must have sat somewhere, got up, and left it in the airport. Once I got to Medina, you know, they had somebody pick us up from the airport, some Arab dude, and alhamdulillah, my Arabic was good enough that I understood what he was saying. Took me to the dorm room and things like that, and I think like later on, I think like in a day or so, an American brother, he came, you know, introduced himself, and he, you know, helped me get acclimated with things. But it was the first 3 months was a struggle, because I mean, I got one of my closest friends when I first got there was a brother from Finland, and he was green around the ears just like me, trying to get himself together and things like that. And we were struggling, and because we thought that, you know, as soon as we get there, the university was going to be like, here you go, give you some money, you know. No, we had to wait I think 3 months before we received our stipend. I'm sorry, stipend. And you know, they had at that time they didn't have like now in the university they have a bus that takes you to the Haram for Asr, like Asr time, they take you to the Haram, they pick you back up. There was no bus, so we either had to walk the 2 hours to the Haram if we wanted to go to the Prophet's Masjid. That's what we call the Haram, right? You had to walk the 2 hours, 1 hour in the heat, or you had to take a cab. So that $50 was being spent on food, and I was just eating dates and milk and water. And some of the dates I didn't buy. You know, they gave you like a pack of free dates and stuff like that. And I was just surviving off of that and going to the Haram and things. And I remember one time it was me and a brother from Finland. We were driving back in a cab, and he paid for it, so I think I was out of money. And we were talking to the cab driver, and we were telling him that, you know, we've been here for 3 months. You know, money is you know, running low and stuff like that. We're trying to tell him how we're struggling with our very bad Arabic, and he's just like taking it all in, right? And when we got out the cab and stuff like that, he gave us each like 10 reals, man. It's like, here you guys go. Now we're supposed to be paying him for the ride, but you know, mashallah, I mean, I was like, you know, thank you, jazakallah khair, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, things like that don't normally happen. But in Medina, it's actually quite common. It's actually quite common. If people know that you're struggling, and especially if you're a student, and you come from, you know, your country, there to seek ilm, even the most non-religious dude and stuff like that, because of how they're ingrained with certain aspects of the religion, will try to help you out. So when I was in Medina, alhamdulillah, you know, I was able to memorize the Quran, not all of the Quran, memorize from the Quran what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy. And my memorization level started picking up too. I was able to read all of Surah Al-Kahf before the Iqamah, or for the adhan of the khutbah and everything like that. And I started sitting with some of the scholars of Medina, meeting brothers from different places. Most of the brothers that I met while I was in Medina, they were Westerners. Even though the place is filled with people from all over the world, the Muslim world and non-Muslim world as well, the people that I kind of gravitated towards were the Westerners, not particularly the Americans, and definitely not the British. Mostly, like the Swedes, they were cool. In fact, I would say the most laid back and the most knowledgeable group of brothers from the West that I met while I was there were the Swedes. And they were a very tight-knit group and very friendly bunch of brothers and stuff. Yeah, you know, brothers like when I moved out of the dormitory, because I was gonna bring my family and things like that, I lived in what was known at that time as the American Building. Everybody been through this building. Aqil Ingram lived there before I took it over in the same apartment. In fact, I called Aqil before I brought my family, told him that I need a place. You know what I'm saying? Do you know any place I could get an apartment or whatever like that? And he's like, I'm not coming back. So the place that I got, you can take it. It's all yours. When and it was a ni'mah from Allah, because all I had to do was just go there and just pay rent. Didn't have to do any setup or anything like that. But because this apartment was passed down from brother to brother to brother, it had leftover things from almost everybody. A brother named Idris that studied that studied for a while from Jersey, and works in Jeddah. He had his books in there. What's his name had his books in there? What's his name again? Mustafa George had his books in there. Who else? Oh, you know Idris? Yeah, man. His books are gone now, but yeah, he had his books in there. Another brother called I can't remember his name. A brother from Philly had his books in there. And then next door was known as the Philly apartment, where the brothers from Philly, they stay in there. So a whole bunch of Philly brothers went through there and stuff like that. Musa, some of them studied in the university, some of them didn't. Musa, he was in Kulliyat al-Hadith. Jamal was in Kulliyat al-Hadith. Shaq used to visit a lot there. Mufti, when he was before he went to Yemen, he was staying there. And then after he got accepted, that's where he lived with his family and stuff and everything. I studied with scholars such as Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abad in the Haram. He's one of the first people I actually sat with. Sheikh Ali, subhanallah, Sheikh Ali Al-Faqihi. Sat with him. But the thing with Sheikh Ali, I didn't sit with Sheikh Ali Al-Faqihi for a long time because most of his class are good, but they're like rudimentary. He covers things for like the general populace. He's not really like trying to get deep into issues and stuff like that. But they're still beneficial classes. But I decided to sit with other scholars. Sat with Ibrahim Al-Ruhaili, who also taught me Aqidah in one of my years in the university. Sheikh Saleh Asindi, Sheikh Saleh Suhaimi, Sheikh Ibrahim, Sheikh Oh, of course. Yeah. Sheikh Khalid al-Radadi. Sheikh Khalid al-Radadi, from the ni'mah and the blessing of being in the university, he actually taught me Arabic. He was, even though he's a scholar and in his own right and things like that, and I should be learning from him Tawheed and fiqh and all this stuff, he was teaching me how to write Arabic letters because they had a lack of teachers when I went into the program, when I went into the language programs. So he was teaching us how to write the Arabic letters. And the messed up part was, because the sheikh, that's not his specialty, he was teaching us how to write the letters like how Arabs write the letters. So it's almost like if an American or somebody that was Western tried to teach somebody how to write the English letters by teaching them cursive. So a lot of time we will be arguing with the sheikh, like, sheikh, is that what is that? Is that a dal or a ra or what is that? He's like, it's a ra, it's a ra. I'm like, no, that's not a ra, that's a dal. And then he's like, subhanallah, stuff. It was funny. Now that I think about it, it was funny then, but subhanallah, it was a growing experience for both of us. But because of that opportunity, I got to be very close to the sheikh. Every time I would memorize a hadith, because the sheikh he taught us, I would just go read the hadith to him, and he could correct my memorization and things like that. So after I graduated from the University of Medina in 2010. Today, that's almost 9 years ago, subhanAllah.
That's 2000.
2010. What? Say what? What are you saying?
Same the same year he was born.
Who? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, but he was born a little bit earlier than that, before I graduated. Yeah, yeah. But in 2010, I graduated, and I stayed in actually directly after I graduated. I got a job, and I traveled to another city. I left Medina, traveled to another city called Ar, and I worked there for a year and some change, and then I went to Jeddah, where I worked there and sat with another scholar named Sheikh Mahir Al-Qahtani, Hafidhullah. And then after Jeddah, I went to the Emirates, where I lived in a place called Ajman, and worked in a place called Sharjah, or Sharqa will be the correct Arabic pronunciation. And while I was in the Emirates, and who knows where the Emirates is? Because most people don't know the Emirates; they only know Dubai. But the Emirates is Dubai and other states. Dubai is only one state, which is part of the Emirates. Or the Emirates is how you say it in English, but Emirat in Arabic. So I stayed there for 3 years? Something like that, before I came back to the States. My family left before I did, and then I followed after them. While I was there, I was teaching Islamic studies in a school there, as well as English. English is like the bread and butter over there. If you want to survive, you have to teach English.